Welcome to Body Kindness. Learn and grow.
This is a special podcast series where we help anyone just getting started with body kindness.
We're reflecting on how we have evolved since our earliest episodes. I'm Rebecca Scritchfield.
And I'm Bernie Salazar. Let's get ready to spiral up together.
Hey, listeners, do you have diabetes or a concern about diabetes? Maybe it's in a family history. Maybe in your recent medical appointments, you have had conversations about elevated blood sugar labs or A1C. Or maybe you're just wondering about how you can move forward with body kindness and self-care for diabetes concerns. I am really thrilled to be offering an opportunity that is a significant expansion from the live group interactive calls that I have been doing with Glennis Oyston. You might remember her as the co-host of Dietitians Unplugged, a very successful and very helpful podcast. Well, we have been working together with groups of folks with diabetes concerns for over a year. And we've been working on a way where we can expand and extend the program and reach more folks. So it's not ready yet, but we want you to know about it because we want you to be the first to know to get in on the pre-sale offers and the exciting lead up to launch. So visit haescare.com, that's HAESCARE.com, and that's going to direct you to a page from our 1-month program that is no longer available, but you can give your name and email. You could learn a lot more about that program and the direction we're going to get a sense of, this is something that I might want to know more about. If you have further questions, you could shoot me an email, rebecca@bodykindnessbook.com. I really look forward to hearing from you, whether you have a question about this program or want to know more about when it's going to be launching. It's going to be soon, and you will be the first to know if you give us your name and email. So again, that's HAESCARE.com. Hey, Bernie, what's up?
Rebecca, I am so thankful that I get to spend today with you and talk about gratitude.
Yay, gratitude. It's certainly that time of year where gratitude is on the brain, and hopefully it can be something that is part of our everyday. But yeah, what are you grateful for lately?
You know, I am grateful for many things, and I always start, and I know our listeners already can probably forecast what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it because I am super grateful for my family. I'm grateful for the opportunities that I've been given, grateful for the friendships that I have. Being grateful for things is something that I think I shared in our previous episode about gratitude, that I really do take time to identify and give thanks to daily. It's just part of who I am. And no, it didn't come naturally. It's something that I worked on, but I do find that it gets me through my days, especially through difficult moments. And it also really accentuates the blessings I feel that I do have in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially the difficult moments. Like,
oh yeah,
it's, and in that difficult moment, how do you say, it's gonna be okay? So, I mean, it could be something like that, like one night of bad sleep that I get, and I'm talking like my brain is wired at 1 a.m. and it's like, dee-dee-dee,
exactly.
And I do what I can to breathe and relax, but the stress about not sleeping is actually waking me up. And it's like, I hear that voice that's like, and everything's going to suck tomorrow. And by the way, the judgment comes out and you missed that deadline and you're weeks behind on this goal. And, oh, you didn't find your daughter's camp yet. It's like the inner critic can explode. And so it's like, there's always this soft whisper, like, it's going to be okay. This is hard. It's going to be okay. But I do find that, so that's that voice of self-compassion. And then I can bring something around to, you've been through hard things, you've been through tough things, and there are other people who have it harder and tougher than you do. So, just inhale, exhale, moment to moment type stuff. And then when stuff is really especially hard, you realize that sometimes these little things that perk up as daily problems aren't really as bad in the grand scheme of things,
N- Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, when I work and am present in trying to find the good in a situation, even if it's bad, it allows me an opportunity to find growth. Maybe not in that moment, that immediate moment. I don't want our listeners to think like, oh, he's looking for growth and, something tragic happened. I mean, but it does, once I'm able to unpack it and think about it and find something to be grateful for in the most difficult of times, it does allow me to grow. And one thing that I wanted to talk about really quickly was just, we talked last time about what is gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in this episode that our listeners are going to be able to kind of tune into after this, I said finding pause in your life to just acknowledge the good. I'd like to add to that. We're already a year, almost 2 years later from that episode.
No, but Bernie, 3.
Really? Oh my
We're
God.
almost 3 years. That's why. Yeah,
Why?
the original Gratitude came out around November 2016.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
So let me share with the listeners where I'm at now in defining gratitude for myself and in my life. It's not just taking pause, which I still define as part of the way that I bring gratitude into my life, but also being present in that pause. And I don't know if our listeners are understanding the distinction that I'm trying to make, but far too often we'll pause, right? If things get tough or, when we find a moment that we truly are just overjoyed with the way things are going. But a lot of times my mind in particular wanders to, again, some of the things you alluded to, Rebecca, which is, oh, I could be doing this. I shouldn't be doing this. Or for me, being able to really be grateful is taking the pause to first really take in that moment, and also that sense of presence. Just be there. Open your eyes, open your ears, open your heart, open your mind to the fact that this is an opportunity for you to really take in something good.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the big changes I feel like I've seen in you over the last 3 years, there's just been a big shift in this sort of voice in your mind, right? Like, I am not good. I'm not doing enough. I'm not eating good enough. And I've got to fix all these problems. I'm not exercising the way I should. I've got to fix all these problems. That's like burdensome and kind of burdened and overwhelmed, and that feeling of hopelessness. I think that's when I first caught you.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was exactly at that time in my life where it was so much negative talk that not even a little bit of positivity was squeaking through. And it was a really low place for me.
Yeah. But I feel that in your evolution and your body kind of journey and in learning and growing, right, that it's different now. And not that you never have a criticism, because we all do, but it definitely seems really different now. I've seen you step into your power. I've seen you notice things like, hey, I'm not really getting the type of exercise that I think about when I think of challenging exercise, but I'm going to notice that I'm getting movement when I'm playing with my kids or when we're out and about in Chicago. And this matters. And maybe I do want to find some, new and challenging exercises to do. But they've got to kind of fit within my schedule and priorities and preferences. I don't have to give my life to this sort of air quotes self-care that's really self-flagellation, because you're just putting hours and hours and hours into fixing a problem. And now you're like, well, wait a minute, my body is not a problem, and I can have concerns about my health and well-being and take them in stride. I can have a life and still care for myself. So that's my assessment for you. And I would love to know what your personal experience is, related to that.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I feel better. I feel more confident. Those things, that negative talk, just like you said, I'm very human. They have their moments where they kind of creep in, and I just literally usher them by. It's almost I just kind of direct them like, "Hey, I'm gonna understand where this might have come from. I'm gonna acknowledge it, and then it needs to continue to move on because there are other things that I want that space filled with, whether they be things that I'm thankful for or issues that that I need to address for myself and for my family, as opposed to dwell on something that oftentimes I have no control of, or in that moment I'm not going to be able to fix. And I think being able to identify those things that I don't have control of and just allowing them to pass through has really helped me. And then to be able to be in a clearer headspace to address the things that I can in a more concise and direct way has also helped. Another thing that I'm grateful for, I want to put it out there to our listeners, is my wife and I are expecting another baby here very, very soon, within like the next month.
Yay! I was wondering if you were going to say something. Yay! I'm so excited for you.
I know. What's so fun about this is, we started this when Bennett was literally, I want to say almost a week before she was born.
Right. We were kind of faking it. Bennett wasn't here yet, and we were recording as if Bennett was here because of the schedule.
Yes, but it was a matter of days. So don't beat this up. But same thing now. It's going to be a little boy. No names picked out, but such blessings. So grateful. And I'm excited to share that with our listeners.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah. We have a good feeling that baby boy Salazar will be here by the time this show airs. There's a really strong chance. So we'll have to talk about progress in that direction on a future episode.
Absolutely.
No, that's just so awesome. I think you're amazing. I think you're healthier than you've ever been, to be honest. And it's been such an honor to be your friend and to just walk with you through this journey. And, when you talk about sort of moving your thought patterns, it reminds me what I tell to clients, which is this skill of like connect and redirect, right? So you hear those thoughts, connect to them, and redirect yourself to what matters. So it doesn't mean that you can't make meaningful changes, but like, are you really going to shame yourself and judge yourself and burden yourself with these criticisms and these, where nothing good is allowed to exist unless, right, you have the perfect amount of eating, exercise, body appearance or whatnot. It's just such a waste. And I think, readers and listeners are also making this shift in their mindset as well. Several of them wrote to us to share how gratitude helps them practice body kindness and vice versa. So would you do the honor of reading some of our submissions so we could?
Absolutely. I would love to. And just to piggyback on what you said, Rebecca, and to our listeners, this is something that has taken me, as we just shared, over 3 years. And when we first started talking, it did not come easy. But it's worth taking that pause. It's worth being present. And wherever you are in your journey, know that I am rooting for you and I care for you. And there is light to be seen if you continue kind of self-reflecting and finding that gratitude. So I just wanted to share that because I was definitely there and I'm here and I still have work to do every day. So that being said, let's go ahead and see what MC wrote. She shares her story of gratitude, and it goes, my family of 2 teens and hubby do a 15-minute yoga stretching practice on Sunday mornings. I love and am grateful for this time. I'm practicing body and soul kindness with my loved ones. It definitely makes me more grateful for my family and our health. The feeling stays with me for a long time afterwards.
I love this. I love that it's 15 minutes because a lot of times people think that they have to do, spend all the time in the world for, especially movement to be enough. I certainly love that there's this idea of yoga connection with a family and not the sort of version of yoga that I can't stand where it's like, let's heat the room to 1,000 degrees and give you hand weights and call that yoga. That is not yoga.
I don't need any help sweating. That's
And I'm really inspired by this idea of it being a home practice. I'm still trying to create a yoga practice at home, though I am finally making the time to go back to the studio that I wrote about in the book, that there were no mirrors. It really helped me heal my body image. But it is a time. I mean, it's the money to go there, but if a class is 75 minutes, that's a good 2 hours of your day. So, honoring that as a juggle struggle, but she's really inspiring me that it's family focused too. So I'll do some meditation work with my girls. There's some good books, Sitting Still Like a Frog book and workbook and audio CD. And this is in that category of we have them in the house and my girls and I don't pull them out yet. So maybe over the Thanksgiving and holiday, slower, wintry holiday time, I will use this as inspiration to crack open those books and try to practice what MC is practicing.
Yeah. And I just love that the whole family is involved. It's creating those memories on top of taking that time for self-care. Mm-hmm. And it's just, it's a good way to tie in just health and wellness and, into the family's routine. Mm-hmm. So next we have a letter from Christy M., who says that I've noticed a correlation between gratitude and spiraling up. The spiral up can be big or small. Sometimes I notice the gratitude while engaged in the spiral up, and sometimes I notice it during my time of reflection. Example 1, picking up my nieces from school. Sometimes it's annoying to stop work, get in the car, drive to school, and wait in the pickup line. But during my period of reflection, I find so much gratitude. I'm grateful to have a job that allows me to pick up the girls, and it allows me to help out my brother and sister. I'm grateful for the conversation in the car on the way home. I'm grateful to be surrounded by my 2 favorite human beings, and I'm grateful that they love when I pick them up. Example 2, yesterday was my oldest niece's birthday. She turned 13. As I was wrapping her presents and writing in her card, I was overcome with gratitude for having her in my life, for the bond that we share, for the ability to celebrate with her, and the spiral up in gratitude continued for the entire day. It was a good day.
Yeah, I love this so much. Christy is an amazing human. She was on our podcast before about going through trauma. And so I just, I love when I hear from her and how her life is going. And I can really relate to the annoyance of having to stop work. But mine's picking up my kids, right? I mean, you could relate too, right?
Those school lines are no joke.
Yeah, it's a fight sometimes, getting the right spot or parking. Can you park and put your flashers on? It's stressful. And you know what? It's also okay to be like a parent or an aunt that's like, oh, gotta go do this. And also remember that you have a reason why, right? That because that you love and care about people. So I just think that's so awesome.
Yeah, that line all fades away and all the stress when I see her little face coming out with this little backpack, and she's at the age where the backpack's bigger than her. Smiles, and I just literally try to take as many mental snapshots as possible because I hear that it's fleeting, but right now I'm just pausing and being present in that line.
But I think you're exactly right. I think it is fleeting, and being present to enjoy what you can notice that is good out of the current experiences that you're having. And Christy's message was reminding me of, so we had like a stressful, the girls have a tennis and then a swim. Cause of course I kept signing up for fall things that I thought would be good ideas. Yeah. And it's anyway, but it's fine. Like Andy and I are both noticing the joy and watching them being coached and watching them respond and watching them improve their confidence. So it's really, and we're out of the house. It's all mostly good things. But again, when you wake up Saturday morning and you're rushing to get breakfast and you just want to stay in bed, like that's not happening. And then like I got tasked with racing to get the birthday present for it's a friend's like 3-year-old party, and so, and I'm sitting here in my mind, like grumble, complaining. And so I'm racing because I got to drop books off at the post office and I got to get some present. What I do? Well, I came in through the back and it just like jumped out at me. There were these books, but there was a special stack. And there was this, and I saw, and in big letters, it said, just ask. And I saw the signed copy, like a sticker in the corner. And I was like, oh, what is this book about? Who signed it? And I looked, and it was Sonia Sotomayor. Oh, and I knew her as the first Latina Supreme Court Justice. Well, here the book is about, she had type 1 diabetes, and she noticed that when she had to pull out her needle for her insulin, that no one ever asked her, what are you doing? And that she felt bad that people never asked her, so she felt even more different. So the whole book is about celebrating our differences and how kids, hey, just ask, And so it tells a story of like Carlos is in a wheelchair and that there are benefits that can help him go fast. And there's kids who have ADHD in the book. There's a child with Down syndrome in the book, and I have a niece who has Down syndrome. And so I'm flipping through and I was like, not only do I love this book for the mother of the 3-year-old who I know loves Sonia Sotomayor, but also I was like, and my kid's teacher needs one. And this, and so I just bought a big stack of them. So yeah, I felt gratitude for the privilege of just being able to, these are important gifts. Here's some money toward that. That is a privilege. But then getting the thank you card from my daughter's teacher. I read it that day. I didn't know about this book. It is so good. We're going to keep reading it. It's teaching our first graders the positive messages about inclusivity they need to hear. And just reading that handwritten gratitude, I was like, I remembered walking the store bitching that I had another job to do, but look how beautiful it turned out, So it's like those kinds of things. It doesn't, sure, you can practice gratitude in any meaningful way that works, but noticing it when it shows up in your life. Thankfully, I did that thing because it led to something better and it led to connecting to another human.
No, I love that. Absolutely. I want to go ahead and share what M says, another listeners, or it's EM or M. I'm going to just say M. As a recovering perfectionist, I'm often hard on myself. As I practice body kindness, I look for ways to be grateful for my body when I'm having a hard moment. I'm grateful for my eyes, that they see the beauty in the world. I'm grateful for a body that allows me to move. I'm grateful for my arms that give and receive hugs. I say grateful statements to help shift my focus, and it helps me move on with my day in a more positive light.
Yeah, I love this. This is going to be especially helpful for anyone who is like struggling with body criticisms, and you might check yourself in the mirror, or you might feel disappointed that you would be more comfortable in one size up, or you might feel afraid of donating the diet clothes or things like that. If you're, I think this is a great example of gratitude when you're just struggling with being hard on the way you take up space, and it's absolutely necessary. It's just
this one resonated too, and I'm jumping in just because I really appreciate the way that she talks and appreciates her body for what it does. I'm a big fan of the arms that give and receive hugs. For me, when I hold my daughter, having the extra padding here and there makes her more comfortable, and I'm like, oh, that's exactly why that's there, is for her.
I love that.
And, I wouldn't have been able to do that overnight. So it's like my body was planning for those types of hugs and cuddles. So it really allows me to just be there for her in a way that maybe it wouldn't be as comfortable for her had I just be at a different weight.
Yeah. So, and I think it's a statement to the benefits of your body as it is right now, that it is not a problem. I think that's beautiful, Bernie.
Well, thank you. And I mean, especially with, women, like your guys' bodies are so incredible that, I can't even imagine, just the struggles that a lot of women go through day to day, or especially around birth. And like such a beautiful thing that you guys are able to do, that any type of negative talk literally pains me as an ally to think that that's what's going on, because man, is that it's just so incredible, the entire thing. So just wanted to share that from a male perspective as well. And yeah, so let me keep moving forward. Here's one from LL. It says, I'm grateful for my physical strength, and paradoxically, by appreciating what I can do well, such as biking and weightlifting, I'm less inclined to be hard on myself about my weight or disabilities.
I love that. Yeah. Focusing on what you can already do well and acknowledge as well, and letting that be good enough. Anytime you can focus on your strengths, it can be a really powerful thing to boost your sense of self-worth and hope and confidence, that when you hear those criticizing thoughts, or when you feel those moments of shame, that you can connect and redirect. I love that.
Yeah. And, she mentions biking and weightlifting, but honestly, it's being able to go up the stairs or move or stand up. Like, it is all relative. It's all beautiful, and it's finding that gratitude in it. This is one that I've really had to work through myself because, again, you always want to play the compare game. And in today's day and time, it's so easy to do that with social media. And let's go ahead and just take the social media out of it. Like, just yourself. That's just a natural thing. Oh, I was able to, I used to, look at the medals hanging, or, the pictures of. But the truth is, there is beauty and there can be gratitude found in your current state if you open yourself up to it.
Absolutely.
And finally, we have NM, who says, I've had a lot of health issues over the past several years, and it can be hard to spiral up sometimes. So using a gratitude practice can really help me to appreciate all of the things that my body can and does to every day. Yeah.
Health issues are a big one. I mean, I am so fortunate that I'm generally medically healthy. This year I struggled with rashes, which turned out to be anxiety. And I'm not even sure if we ever talked about it on a podcast yet, but we will. We will talk about it because I'm not forgetting. But other than that, it's my family and I are privileged to be healthy. And so when somebody is struggling with health concerns, I see it a lot with clients, especially diabetes concerns, and they're trying to reconcile maybe dieting history or an eating disorder history with medical concerns. And it's like, what do I do? What do I trust? And having challenges in life can make you feel defeated. And that's exactly what she's talking about. But it's like, there is still good to appreciate and to acknowledge. And so let me choose to focus on that. And let me choose to let that goodness in. And it does create a shift. It doesn't mean your other problems aren't there. We're not ignoring them like, nah, I can't hear you. We're saying, yeah, they're there and this is hard. But there are also good things that help improve my emotional strength and well-being. And I'm not going to throw those out. I'm going to look at them, acknowledge them, and embrace them and let them help me through this difficult time.
Absolutely. So there's a letter, and I'm going to go ahead and have you read this one. It's really amazing. I found it to be extremely helpful for myself, and I think that it took a lot of strength and courage and a sense of awareness for this particular listener to write it. So I'm going to pass it on over to you.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. So, Dear Panic Attack, this might feel a bit strange getting a thank you letter from me after all the hate mail I have been sending. The truth is, though, I owe you big time. For years, I've convinced myself that I was fine because I was perfectly functional. I got up in the morning, went to work, took care of my family, and continuously stuffed down all of the fear and frustration and depression and anxiety and anger and every other thing I ever felt that didn't feel socially acceptable or fit within the persona I wanted to exude. Even though I knew something was off, I was able to convince myself that I could handle it on my own. And then you came along and you grabbed me on both shoulders and shook me until my brain rattled. You insisted that I was not at all okay and that I needed to accept that there are some things that just can't be handled on my own. You forced me to recognize that while I might be externally taking care of business, I was not in any way taking care of myself. Because of you, I got help. Because of you, I started admitting to people in my life, my Post-it people, that I am not okay. Because of you, I am finally learning what self-care really means. I am still learning. I am still struggling. But in the months since you came, I have read and learned about body kindness, health at every size, mental health, intuitive eating, mindfulness, courage, shame, and guilt. I'm learning to stand up for myself, say no to people, and advocate for my needs. I'm finding ways to keep my mind and body healthy. I'm learning to fight back against burnout. I'm learning how my own self-neglect has affected my life, my career, my relationships, and my mental and physical health. I am not perfect. I have a lot of learning and unlearning to do, and it's going to take a very, very long time. I accept that, although it's not always easy. Because of you, I was forced to look eye to eye with all the damage I've done by ignoring my own needs. And I have a lot of wounds that are going to take a while to heal. So, thank you, panic attack. Thank you for shaking my complacency. Thank you for rubbing my nose in reality. Thank you for making me see that I matter, that my needs matter, that self-care is not just trendy millennial jargon. Thank you for starting my journey toward finding my way back to myself. Thank you, panic attack. Yours is a lesson I won't be forgetting anytime soon.
Amazing. I, again, just thank our listeners for sharing that with us. So much strength, so much courage. And how incredible was it that this person was able to find gratitude in a panic attack, something that I would have never even thought to try to find gratitude in. Very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. I think she's alluding to it. We talk in the listeners will get next, which is like the replay of our original episode, but about post-traumatic growth. And that is when you face a difficult thing in life that doesn't just go away easily. And a lot of people don't even really understand that we experience multiple traumas in life. And it seems like that all of her kind of shoving and ignoring and, I'm fine, just put your lipstick on, I'm fine, just take the kids to school, really on the inside, she wasn't fine. And it was her body's way of saying, you need to listen to me. If I have to give you a panic attack, you're going to listen and your eyes are going to be open and you're going to get the help you need because you're worth it.
Absolutely. So, Rebecca, here we go. We're going to go ahead and share our original podcast about gratitude. And I just want to tell the listeners that I'm super grateful to be here with you and for you to be here with us.
Just being the time of year where we're grateful for our family and friends and the feast of Thanksgiving, gratitude is more on the mind. And I thought we could maybe talk a little bit about how it improves your health and well-being.
I'm totally up for it. I'm someone who, can get caught day to day just kind of thinking about what needs to get done and, what I haven't gotten done or what I might not have yet. And when you sent this topic over my way, it really kind of gave me pause. And I was like, you know what, you really do need to kind of start thinking about the things that you are grateful for, that you already possess. And to me, I can't wait to kind of jump in. And for anybody who thinks it's just a bunch of woo, like Rebecca said, let's see if we can't convert you. I would love to have you thanking the world that be for something in your life before the end of this podcast.
Yes, I think that's great. Well, why don't we just dive in with a definition or just an interpretation and of like what is gratitude? How would you describe gratitude to the listeners?
For me, gratitude is just really taking pause and appreciating what it is that is in your life that brings joy, true happiness. Just taking pause. I mean, because right away when you ask for a definition, I almost want to say, "Oh, the things you're grateful for." But I mean, it's the word itself. But I mean, for me, it's because I thought about this. I knew you were going to ask. I got ahead of you this time. I knew you were going to ask about what I thought the definition of gratitude was. And for me, it's just truly taking pause and learning to appreciate those things around me that matter.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree 100%. The root of gratitude, so the Latin word gratus, gratus, means pleasing or thankful. And that's really what it's about at the core, is to have a feeling of thankfulness for, whatever it is you want to call into your gratitude circle. That's one of the beauties of it, is that it's defined by what you choose to acknowledge as beneficial or meaningful in your life. And, it doesn't always have to be good things that are happening to you. And I think I'll kind of save it a little bit for later. We don't have to dive in that heavy, but just a little teaser for those listening. It is possible to express gratitude even when bad things happen to you in life. And it's not like, like I have a friend who lost her baby literally a week before the baby was due. And she is in a terrible mourning. And there's no way that she's saying, I'm so grateful this happened to me. But part of her healing and part of her need to find meaning of why this happened in her life and part of how she's rebuilding herself has come around trying to make a difference in other people's lives who are going through something similar. So she's looking for community and support, and she's calling attention to the issues that she has been facing to help raise awareness. And so, that even when you're dealing with the most unthinkable and painful things in life, there's still hope for a light of gratitude. And, I think that will be something that'll be really, really interesting to kind of talk about a little bit later today.
No, absolutely. I mean, that definitely is heavy, and my heart's with her. And how much strength and courage must she have to be able to try to help others throughout that time. For me, again, when we talked about gratitude, it is hard sometimes to find it in those difficult situations. You just explained a really serious and heavy situation, but something as maybe trivial as stubbing your toe and being thankful you didn't break it. it can be that.
It can always be worse.
Yes, it could. I could have broke it.
Yeah.
And in our show notes, you had mentioned being thankful when it's hard to be thankful. Mm-hmm. And I know we're not there yet, but I just kind of, I'm almost jumping the gun, because that's sometimes where I find myself a lot of times is, well, how am I going to be thankful when I'm not where I want to be, or how am I going to be thankful when I still don't have this or that. And, and I think that, if our listeners are anything like me, that's where, we might get some of those people who are thinking to themselves, well, I don't know about this gratitude thing. Right away, you're starting off with that. How about let's go ahead and see if we can be grateful for just tuning into this podcast a bit and see if we can change your mind. So, Rebecca, chime in, because I honestly today I am thankful for a lot of things. So I am ready to share those whenever the time calls. You just let me know.
Okay. Well, I just want to see if I can tease out where you might have been heading. So when you talked about not being where you want to be, like, are you thinking like from the behavior change angle, like there's, you want to improve a habit, self-care, a body kindness type habit, if you will, and finding it difficult to be grateful when you're not at the goal?
See, I love it when you can rein me in and kind of get those thoughts out of me. So for me, really having dove into body kindness and really exploring body acceptance. I mean, I do find myself from time to time still going back to that, maybe not necessarily a number on a scale. I'm not there, but maybe not, passing by a mirror and not looking the way that I think I want in my head to look. And yeah, I'm like, gosh, how do I find myself being grateful in those moments and realizing that I've come so far and I've put in so much work, and that no longer is what is defining me. And I'm noticing that my life has changed for the better in so many ways because I have let go of a lot of things that were previously weighing me down. And I am not talking about pounds.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's something to consider. Consider that gratitude is an important key to unlocking the door of happiness.
I completely buy that, and I believe it wholeheartedly. Some of the best experiences and moments that I've had in my life to date have been when I was able to truly just immerse myself in being thankful for an experience, an opportunity, a loved one, a moment, actually being in that moment. I think a lot of times we just forget to be present and those moments in my life where I was present and able to be thankful for what was going on, be it bad or good. I did have a death in the family, and being able to be present in that moment and mourn that person has allowed me to be at peace with that. So I mean, it's just different things like that. No, I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, it's, to me, I think it's important to see it, as a practice. So it's part of what you do to take good care of yourself. And gratitude is very much a part of the body kindness practice. When you practice gratitude, and to me, I think it's very important to be honest. I don't believe in fake it till you make it. I think that it can feel disingenuous. And if you kind of deny how you're currently feeling and just lay that over with a bunch of gratitude sayings, that it's not really going to create the effect in your mind, body, well-being connection that we're looking for, and especially you brought up earlier, the idea of body positivity, especially, you can be a person who's practicing body kindness, who is learning to love and care for the body that you're in on the whole, right? And everyone's going to be at a different stage of letting go of the scale, of letting go of diets, of trying to find out what works for them. It's not some sort of magical ceremony and then boom, you're healed. So it is a journey, and everyone's going to be at their own place. And really, you mentioned a moment earlier, you can have a moment where you're actually not feeling that great in your body or about your body, but maybe that is a fleeting moment that's going to come and go. And a way that you can embrace that moment is not by just slapping, gee, I love myself, like on top of it, but find something good, something positive, something compassionate, and something real you can say to yourself, even if it's not about your body, even if you need to take the conversation away from your body for a moment and turn it into something else. This practice of gratitude is a way of shifting your mindset, shifting your tone to more kind and nurturing thoughts and words and feelings. And this is, in the book, when I write about spiraling up in your mood and your emotions, this is exactly what I'm talking about. When you do that, it's going to lead to better self-care choices. So this practice of gratitude is something that you can use when you feel like you're not in a good space, whether it's you woke up already exhausted, you didn't get enough sleep, or you're stressed out about something, the day's not going your way. And, that first inclination you get is to grab from the candy dish or something. You can always pause and just kind of gently say what's happening, and then use gratitude as a way to, to kind of help you through and say, I'm tired right now, or I'm angry, I'm emotional. Acknowledge how you're really feeling. And whether it's take a deep breath and then think of something that you can be grateful for, it can have a powerful impact to help just shift your mood state ever so slightly. And that's what is going to help, neutralize out your emotion and put you in a better place to kind of make the next good, healthy, makes me feel good self-care choice.
Yeah, no. And I mean, for me, this is something that I have practiced just kind of naturally. And that's not to say that it's come easy, Rebecca, because there have been times where it's hard to find good. But I do remember in a past job that I had, I literally did not like going to work. So I would have to think of things on my way there that I was grateful for, because I wasn't grateful to where I was having to go. So, I mean, finding things as, I guess, as simple as, thank goodness that water came out of my shower this morning and it was warm. Or thank goodness that, I have a car to drive in. Or thank goodness that there is electricity in my house. I mean, I would come up with some doozies. And at the end of the day, I would truly think about those things that maybe I never thought about before, or I would just end up laughing, which also put me in a better mood going into where I was, because I would just thank the world for a comb. I mean, whatever I could. So, I mean, there might be people out there who are like, I don't know, if there's much that I'm thankful for, or it might be difficult, but just, in one of the articles that you sent me, it had talked about how this is something that you kind of have to put some work into. Even if it's just naming one thing a day that you're grateful for, like, hey, I woke up today, or check this out. I actually, had a cover to put over myself. I mean, I find it so interesting that being grateful for things in your life can contribute to your health in such significant ways. One thing that I read, and I'm going to let you kind of expand on this a little bit more, Rebecca, was the fact that practicing gratitude can actually help to not eliminate, but lessen some depression type thoughts or feelings. Am I reading that right, or how?
Yeah. So I will share in the show notes an awesome section from the Greater Good website. It's all about the science of a meaningful life. And they have an expanding gratitude project, lots of links that listeners can explore. But when it comes down to it, when someone is going through, there's a spectrum of depression, and, you're feeling negative emotions, and the tendency is to isolate yourself, right? Put yourself on a little island. I'm not going to talk to nobody. I'm not going to tell anybody how I'm feeling. I'm not going to connect. I'm not going to engage. And you can have those thoughts and feelings without ever being diagnosed with depression. But the way that gratitude kind of reroutes you, if you will, that metaphor of finding a detour, is that it helps you to connect to others. So there's this way that gratitude is really about strengthening your relationships, because it requires you to acknowledge people and things outside of yourself. And just like you were saying, I'm grateful I had a comb, or I'm grateful I had hot water. You really start to think and acknowledge these gifts, these blessings, these privileges that you have that help make you, or that help you go out there into your job. Even if you hate your job, I mean, hey, I've got a paycheck, so that means I'm getting food. That means rent's getting paid, you know? And I have had my fair share of clients who have hated their jobs. And it's like, we would often talk about, okay, let's, like, in a year, let's plan that we have another job within a year, but we ain't getting another job tomorrow. So today, what can we do to curb emotional eating, say, to get a joyful workout in, maybe go to yoga, restorative, something kind, treat your body well, and then make sure you have, a nourishing dinner that you can eat with pleasure. And just to kind of disassociate the negativity of the job from, the lack of self-care, because that would be the frustrating thing. Like, now here's another reason to hate my job. It's making me not take care of myself.
Exactly.
And so that's part of what it does. It really helps to shift your own mood and help you make better choices. And that's a huge benefit to your body kindness practice. And remember, when I say better choices, it's not, yay, you ate a whole plate of broccoli. Body kindness is a better choice. Could actually be that you did order pizza because you wanted a night off of cooking and cleaning, but it wasn't, you don't get a pass fail. It's not, oh, we ordered pizza, and so who cares about nutrition, and let's go stuff ourselves. It's, we're going to get some pizza. We've got some carrots, we've got some pears, kiwi fruit, whatever. We're going to put together a simple dinner, an easy dinner, and we're going to enjoy it. So, you define what body kindness is, but it should feel good to you. What your decisions you're making in those moments the decision should feel good, or you should be looking forward to the outcome of making that decision. Like, I sleep better, I'm digesting my food better, I have more energy. So that's the thing that you want to shift. But just to kind of circle back to your question about depression, I mean, it can help prevent people who are at higher risk for depression from going into a more depressive state by boosting your mood and your short-term emotions. So you have more positive emotions, you're more optimistic, and that is what lines you up for better health and happiness. It even has been shown to boost your immune system. So, we're always trying to do everything to fight off colds and flu. Maybe it's not a multivitamin, maybe it's a daily dose of gratitude.
Being thankful. Absolutely. And again, for our listeners out there, for me, I kind of had mentioned that it's something I did naturally. I didn't say it came naturally. This is definitely something that, I've had to practice, but I've noticed that the more grateful I am for the things that I do have in my life, in some weird way, I tend to attract more of those positive things. It's so easy to let your mind shift towards the negative sometimes, and it's not as easy to let your mind shift towards that positive, that grateful way of thinking. But once you do, I know for me, it's really served to also attract the things in my life that I'm needing or wanting more of. Yeah, I wanted to share that because it is something that I firsthand have been able to experience.
Yeah, and the other thing that I would add is it's quite possible to have like two opposing and kind of mixed emotions at the same time, and this will kind of segue us into discussion about how do you handle gratitude even when things are bad. But it's possible that you really are going through something difficult, and it's not to ignore that difficulty, but you can also in that sort of you have two hands. In one hand, this is a really crappy, difficult thing, or I'm really struggling with this new habit. It's been hard to find the time to exercise. That's one that I know bothers most people. It's hard to get the sleep, I want to actually feel enough energy to exercise even. And it's okay to acknowledge those difficulties and say you set a goal that you were going to work out 3 days that week and you worked out 0, that's disappointing. It's disappointing, and it can make a person want to give up or beat yourself up or, just say, oh, that's it. I'm never going to change. And that is downward spiraling. That negativity is just going to breed more negativity. And the truth is, we do make mistakes, and it does suck if you set a goal that you did not achieve. But, how can you feel that negativity, that sort of disappointment, maybe some guilt around not accomplishing a goal that you had hoped to achieve? But then look at what's on the other hand, and say, maybe even something like, on the other hand, I'm very grateful because for the first time, I'm actually acknowledging my disappointment as opposed to tuning out and zoning out with a bunch of food. Right. Yeah. And I've had that happen with clients where it has to do with your growth in self-compassion, where you're able to actually face that you're not living up to an expectation, but rather than saying, I'm a bad person, which leads to shame, you kind of just observe and say, gosh, I'm really disappointed by this behavior that I'm not exercising like I wanted to. I set that goal. I didn't reach it. But then enter in gratitude. What can you be grateful for in that situation? Did you catch up on sleep? Did you meet an important work deadline? Did you avoid emotional eating that you think otherwise would have happened, that maybe happened the week before? Because you were, better able to just name your feelings and your emotions. Maybe you're still working on your planning and time management, but that's getting better, So I do think that there is a strong role for gratitude and self-compassion as well. But I want to ask you, think of a recent bad experience when there was something bad in your life, and share a little bit about what was going on and how, in any small way, gratitude may have helped you.
Wow. So I had kind of touched on the fact that I had, lost somebody close to me about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And that was a really, really low period in my life as in anybody's life when you lose somebody who you just love tremendously. I had lost my aunt who was just an amazing, amazing woman and such a loss to our family. And I remember being at her funeral services, and I was asked to speak. And, right away my heart was just so heavy, and just, I was in so much pain over this loss. But I just remember opening my mouth, and the first thing that came out, and that nothing was written, you don't write, prepare for those types of things. But the first thing that came out of my mouth was thanking everybody who had attended for attending this celebration. It just, and it took me back. I mean, I literally, it wasn't who says that, right? I mean, here we are. And I literally thanked everybody for attending this celebration. And then it made me pause. And I just kind of went with it because it did unfold as a celebration of who she was and the life that she led. And I think that conversation that I had with those in attendance that day, that talk resonated more than me jumping in and saying that, how sad I was, or the negativity of having lost her. And if you had known my Aunt Rebecca, you would have known that those were the right words that were placed in my mouth that day. It wasn't a sad event. It was a tremendous loss, but it was a true celebration of a life so abundant in joy and love, and a life that had been lived, that it was a celebration.
Heck yeah. I mean, come on. Imagine it's your time.
Yeah.
Do you want someone, truthfully celebrating
I would
your existence? I mean, this is a whole separate podcast. And if you want to look at something really cool, it's called The Order of the Good Death. And there are some amazing women that are totally redefining how we define death in America. Now that I did not expect to bring this up, but I will include some links in the show notes. But I think it's amazing what they're doing. And I think that, at least for the context of gratitude in this topic, that I think you chose the best words. It sounds like you were really honoring her life. And it sounds like people really resonated for how you chose to frame.
It just came out. It was, it was one of those things where it just came out, and unfortunately, we had lost her to cancer. So it's one of those things where you can sit there and think about why and why too early, and she had 2 daughters, and it's so natural sometimes. I don't want to say easy, because nothing is easy in death, but it was so natural to try to go towards the negative of why she was gone before we wanted to see her go. But I mean, but at the end of the day, it was, and I bring up such a heavy topic in relation to gratitude because it allowed me to make peace with it. And I use that as an example, day to day, Rebecca, when I have those struggles, being grateful for things throughout my day to day life. I was like, no, listen, if, at my aunt's funeral, I was able to be grateful for all that she had contributed to my life. I can sure as heck be grateful that I chose to do this instead of that, or I'm finding the good in this not so good situation.
Right.
And that's what I'm hoping our listeners are getting out of this. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I think you just nailed it. What you're you said finding the good in this not so good situation. And that's kind of what I alluded to in the beginning with my story of a friend who lost her baby, unthinkable tragedy and loss. And so, we're both hitting these stories of loss. And even if it's not about necessarily finding the goodness in the loss, but how has this loss changed me for the better in any way? So you're saying that not just losing your aunt and going through that traumatic event, but being one of the chosen speakers, to kind of lead her memory, that instilled something in you that said, appreciate what you have each day,
Oh,
appreciate the people who are still
absolutely.
with you.
Absolutely. I mean, not just that. In that time, if I was able to really just speak about the joy of a life well lived, and just find a reason to celebrate in such a sad time, I do use that as a marker,
Mhm.
and that was one of the most significant losses of my life to date, and
Yeah.
yeah, I use that as a marker. And if I can get through that by finding some gratitude in that very sad situation, you better believe that I'm going to go out of my way to find the good in a bad day to day
Yeah.
situation. And, there's a lot of listeners there. I have a lot of friends who, we will get together. And the first thing we do, and I love it because it was mentioned in the article that I had just read. The first thing you do is you sit there and talk about all the things you haven't got, or what you haven't done, or how horrible
Mhm.
this situation is. And one idea that was mentioned in the article was, why don't you get together and just talk about something good that happened, or maybe something that you're grateful for. We don't need to wait around till Thanksgiving to sit
Mhm.
around and talk about the things that we're grateful for. I mean, I'm truly grateful for our listeners.
Gratitude is really about building and strengthening your relationships and your connection to other people, which has a massive impact on the way you talk to yourself, the choices that you make. And interestingly, what it also does, it makes you more not likely not only to appreciate those gifts and those blessings that you already have, but it can also have this growth impact where it motivates you to create even more good in the world. So that sort of pay it forward mindset. And there's a sociologist, George Simmel, who calls it the moral memory of mankind, which I love that idea that, gratitude
Um,
is kind
oh,
of like
I,
how we kind of go out there and help make the world better and just kind of spreading gratitude. So I guess we're going to do our moral memory of mankind on Instagram, but just see, does it make an impact on your life? And maybe it makes an impact in that moment, that day, maybe a week of doing it for 7 days makes an overall impact. And I just think it's something that it's a great time of year to look forward to it. It's something to be open to. It's free. Doesn't
yeah,
cost anything.
grateful for that one.
All it really costs is your moment of time to just stop and think about what's one good thing. And if you have 10 seconds, you could do it. If you have a minute, you can come up with 3 good things. And that has also been studied. There's some magic to the idea of naming 3 good things on a daily basis. I'll share a link to that so you can look it up. But anything you can do, I think would be good. And before we kind of wrap up our conversation for today, I just want to have us to have a really quick chat about the holiday season when you're listening, whether it's Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, any of that. New Year's, we know that it's like Halloween's over, time to, do some more celebrating. And
Yes.
this is our food season and our celebratory season. And I've seen a lot of clients struggle with food guilt or guilt because they missed a workout and everything like that. So this is something that I want to address. So what's one tip that you could give to all the listeners who they're like, oh my God, that's me. I always make myself feel bad if I miss a workout, or,
Yeah.
I make myself work out in order to have fun at the company party. And they know that that's kind of BS and they want to fix it this year.
Yeah.
So what's your piece of advice?
For me, especially being a new dad and going through these first holiday seasons with my daughter, I am looking for ways to incorporate health and body kindness in with our holidays. So, for example, Thanksgiving's coming up. Can I find a turkey trot? Can I take my daughter on that? For Halloween, let's go to a pumpkin patch. Let's be active. Let's not just, and not there's anything wrong with this, going to the grocery store and getting a pumpkin, but let's walk around a bit and select the perfect pumpkin for our family. So it's trying to take the thought or the stress out of getting that workout in, or doing certain things. One thing that I plan on doing as well is just really planning out our holiday meals more so? What's the
Mhm.
story behind them? What's going into them? Why is that going into them? My daughter is just starting to really get into food
Mhm.
now. And I've had that oh boy moment again
Mhm.
where I'm like, okay, if she reaches for something that I'm putting in my mouth, it better darn well be good, because for the longest time, I was okay with putting something bad in my, quote unquote, bad in my mouth.
Mhm.
But I definitely don't want her reaching for anything that isn't nourishing to all of us as a family. So that's kind of where I'm going. So my tip would be just, how can you incorporate who you want to be in the direction you're going in to live that healthy life that you deserve into your holidays so that it's not as stressful for you?
Yeah. I can dig what you said. I think my one piece of guidance around the sort of good, bad food idea, because I know you and I know what you mean. So,
Or, I mean, I should, and it's the truth.
okay.
I want her to reach for the most nourishing thing for her body, and I haven't always chosen the most nourishing thing for mine, but
Right.
that's what I'm really thankful for when it comes to my daughter is allowing me to look very closely at what it means to really care for a body
Mhm.
and that little body being hers. And then how does that now transfer over into how I've cared for mine?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was thinking you meant. And
Yeah.
the big picture of that is not, you're not saying, "Oh, I'm burning, I eat clean, I never eat any sugar and I'm not having pumpkin pie or whatever." But it's more like in your past experience, you would say, screw it. Who cares? Nobody's watching. And whatever it is, pizza, ice cream, cookies,
Just,
burger,
and just
fries.
do it. Like you
Yeah.
said, it wasn't that like, hey, touch in because like you said earlier in this podcast, you eat pizza, that's not bad. That
Yeah.
could be really good. But I would mindlessly do things that weren't nourishing me physically, emotionally, spiritually in any way.
Right.
I was mindlessly just indulging in things that it could have been cardboard and I would have just swallowed it the same way.
Right.
So
Exactly.
so
A good holiday for this time of year challenges really, just really to just enjoy and savor. And that includes the event, the experiences you're having, the people you're there with,
save
and
the
enjoying the food.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Taking time to notice more than maybe in the past, I would have just gravitated towards maybe what was being served that day. But I mean, being able to kind of open my eyes to more because I find myself, and again, I'm going to sit here and talk about my daughter all day because it's given me a new outlook on life. I see her staring at a fan with amazement, and I'm like, gosh, when was the last time I ever thought about how amazing a fan was? Or this holiday, I can't wait to, have her look at some of the decorations that are going to be around our house with new eyes, and I'm grateful for that, and that's what I really want to make sure are being tied into these holidays is a sense of presentness.
Yeah. No, that makes complete sense to me. And you absolutely can make choices. Eat with your eyes first. What looks appealing to you? Taste it. Does it taste appealing? And if it does, go for it. Enjoy yourself. And when you're mindfully eating, these are all skills of intuitive eating, and you're more likely to stop when you're comfortably full. Wait again until you feel hungry, and you're not going to be crazy about food because you just are really tuned into your body. And I think that's a good goal for anyone. If you have kids or not, it's not like you're trying to be the most perfect person. You're trying to enjoy yourself, but also be kind to your body and respect it. And know that even if you can't do hard workouts, 1 minute of plank is better than nothing. And you can always build from there. And you should just generally feel good about the ways you are taking care of yourself. So
Absolutely. And I know we got to get going, but I just want to chime in with one more thing.
One more thing.
And this is in relation to moving your body. It's really ironic what we choose to be grateful for or not. I worked at a clinic for a while, and there was a particular patient who was just getting more comfortable with walking again. And when we started talking about this topic, I thought to myself, and here I am being hard on myself for judging myself for not being grateful, for not running as far as I used to or as quick as I used to. And it's all relative, right? The fact that I'm able to really start moving my body in a way that maybe somebody else isn't. And not that you have to play the compare game, but it's just finding that type of gratitude out there. And what you just said kind of brought that idea back up.
Okay. Well, I like it. All right. So we will be connecting on social media then with the Body Kindness hashtag. And until we chat next time, I am so grateful you're in my life.
Absolutely. So grateful you guys are tuning in. And remember, let's get this challenge in. What are we grateful for on Instagram? Hashtag Body Kindness.
And that's our show. The podcast is made possible with support from listeners. Please donate to help offset production costs at gofundme.com/bodykindness. And please rate and review the show when you have a moment. It really matters. Let's keep the conversations going on Facebook. Search Body Kindness and request to join the group for Body Kindness readers and listeners. Have a question for us to answer on a future episode? Visit bodykindnessbook.com/question. Body Kindness books and audiobooks are available wherever books are sold. To request a signed print copy, visit bodykindnessbook.com/order. For other questions about this podcast, please email info@bodykindnessbook.com.